I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at Highland Rivers. This is a special day within a special month, right? So this is National Recovery Month here across the country. And recovery is an important concept, but recovery, you know, in the big picture. And I always define recovery as three simple things, and maybe this is oversimplifying it, but when I came into kind of, what is this thing called recovery? What does this mean? You know, what's the meaning? And I have a friend, and actually she lives here in Bartow County, very influential lady. Her name's Cynthia Wainscott. On the national level, when you talk about recovery, she's on the tip of everybody's tongue. Our congressional delegation, they all know her very well, and she's up in D.C. on a regular basis advocating for us, advocating for folks that are in recovery. And folks in recovery are us in this room from an addiction standpoint, certainly, but folks in recovery from a mental illness standpoint. And a lot of folks, there's a lot of folks that have co-occurring mental illness and substance abuse. So recovery, that concept's really important. And what she says in terms of recovery and what that means is pretty simple to me. And again, I might be oversimplifying it. It means everything, something different to everybody, but real simply, a safe and stable place to live, right? Because a lot of times we're walking through life, we fall on our face, we make mistakes, we make bad choices, and that addiction grabs a hold of us. You know, it really ruins and wrecks a lot of times, and I've seen it a lot personally in my life with some of my best friends where they lose that safe and stable housing. Number two, it's really, something, I say something meaningful to do today. We all want to, I'd say 95% of us, want to have a good, meaningful job, right, and productive, and give back to the world. Because the world's given to us. How do we give back? Well, a lot of times that's through our employment, so that's a big part of it. And then a third piece is connectivity with loved ones. You know, you go through life a lot of times and you burn those bridges, and it's hard to rebuild them. So I think recovery and what we do day in and day out is to really build those bridges and that connectivity to those three pieces. And I got to say, y'all, I mean, what y'all do, don't let the darkness creep in and grab a hold of you and put you down. Don't listen to a lot of those inner voices that we all have that create that shame and that embarrassment that causes you to run. Running is what the enemy wants you to do. Running is what the darkness wants you to do. They don't want you to turn and be courageous and face your worst fears and face what is hardest to do and admit that, hey, I took a wrong step or I made a wrong turn, but I'm willing to take it on. And so, we all have Goliaths in our life, but we're all equipped to be the Davids. And y'all all have, what it takes to conquer Goliath. And it is Goliath. And so I wanted to say I'm inspired by what y'all do every day. I'm inspired to hear the stories of people, alumni that have graduated and some of those that have gone before y'all and what they're doing, man, giving back. To their family and their kids and their loved ones. That's awesome. And that takes a lot of courage. And I love coming to work every day because I get to hear your stories of personal triumph. I get to hear your stories of you giving back after you've gone through this and giving back to other people, in this room, outside this room, people who will come into this room, a year from now. That's awesome. So thank you for all you do. And I wanted to just celebrate this recovery awareness and y'all's individual recovery with you. It's awesome. So we have a special guest with us here today. I wanted to introduce Senator Bruce Thompson. He is a big part of our state leadership. We don't have a lot of senators in Georgia. As y'all know, you got two chambers of our state office, the House and the Senate. Well, the Senate, there's very few of them. They're very influential in terms of thought leaders and in terms of their influence at the state level around our state policy. So a lot of the services that Highland Rivers offers here are funded through our state tax dollars. And our leaders that we elect to go represent us, and many of y'all probably voted for Senator Thompson in the election last year, right? Last November.
Another one coming up?
Yeah, got another one coming up. So I'm sure many of y'all voted for Senator Thompson. He represents us there in terms of how are our state dollars appropriated. And so it's important for Senator Thompson to come out and see what is recovery, what does it look like, because we have scarce state dollars, we have scarce state resources. Why in the world would we want to spend our taxpayer dollars on folks in recovery, on folks getting treatment? Well, I think there's a lot of examples in here on why we would want to do that. So I'm real honored that Senator Thompson will come out and at least kind of interact with y'all, hear y'all out, but kind of share a couple of words from his perspective. I think he's got a personal story that is uniquely inspiring, as many of y'all's stories are. So, Senator Thompson, thank you for coming out, and I appreciate you sharing a couple of words.
So I'd like to begin first by asking your permission if we can be less formal. Is that okay? Because many times when I'm asked to speak, it's kind of a formal environment, right? So if it's okay, I'll be a little less formal. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So usually when people ask you to come speak, you want to address the highlights and all that. And to be honest with you, most of you are going through some things right now where when you talk about the government, you talk about legislative, you talk about the House and the Senate, you're like, yeah, whatever, right? Okay? So let's separate this. This right here, this gives me permission to go down and work on your behalf. Beyond that, I'm just like you. So we good with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, some of you were good. What about the rest of you? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And you need, on honesty, you need to understand that the people that represent you, they need to understand that. They need to hear from you. They need to know what's going on because it's easy for there to be a disconnect. Okay? And so when we hear from a political standpoint that about 20% of people vote in elections, that means 80% of the people out there are making decisions for you. For you, that's real personal because you need legislative money to be able to help with programs like this that are very valuable. So that's a political piece I'm talking to you about, but that's real. You have a right to vote, and you need to, because how does it affect you? You might not care about Obamacare, you might not care about this or that, but you care about this program, right? Yes. The people that are down there, they're the ones that are appropriating money for this to be able to be funded. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, I'm up for re-election, but I don't have anyone running against me, so that's why I was you could write in Mickey Mouse, and maybe they could do a better job. Let's get personal for just a second, okay? So I was kidding Jason. I said, you know, there are many people that look at my situation, and you know, I'm a serial entrepreneur, own a bunch of companies and so on, from insurance companies to software companies and all that kind of stuff, and served at the chamber and yada, 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 served at the Senate. But what they don't know is I'm the inner city kid that grew up in Montana. So some of you, if you'll just listen carefully, you'll go like, hey, this clown that walked in here in a suit, you just might understand what I'm going through. So my mom, she was married at least 5 times. My real dad, he died as an alcoholic. I was 2. My stepdad, he's an alcoholic. My mom, of course, we just talked about her, she's an alcoholic. My older half-brother, he died in a car accident drunk and on drugs. I got a younger half-sister that I don't know anything about. Well, I know some about it, but that's not going so well. And my brother, my half-brother, that's still alive in Montana right now, is going through a situation with DFACS right now where they're trying to take a child for abuse and we're trying to get some legal help. So some of you that might have some social situations that maybe you came out of that some people can't relate to, and somebody that's trying to help you, inside you're thinking, you know, you have no clue what I'm going through. I don't know what you're going through, but that's my story. I decided early on, I don't want any part of this. I didn't want anything to do with the breaking the dishes. We grew up pretty poor. We lived 32 miles out in the country, rode a bus, went to school, came home, did your chores. You need to go to the hospital, it's 70 miles away. I didn't know I was poor. We had some food, pretty much the same food, but we had food, right? But what I grew up in started to mold me. And some people outside of this room don't understand what you have to go through, especially as parents. So inside, I needed to do, I was driven to something, right? I could be driven to what I was experiencing at home, which was alcohol or some kind of substance, or the flare-ups when you get mad because I don't want to cope, or whatever that might be. And instead, I happened to be drawn to athletics. Had a coach. Coach came to me when I was in 7th grade and said, hey, you ever think about playing basketball? And I'm like, why? Am I pretty good? He goes, no. Okay, well, I'm already getting this at home, right? He said, why don't you try wrestling? I was like, well, what about that? Am I pretty good? He goes, no. Actually, you suck at basketball, so let's have you try out for wrestling. And that's really where I started putting my energy. And just like many of you, when you find something you can cope with, that's where you drive your energy, right? That's why some of you maybe had some challenges, because maybe you focused on the wrong thing. I was fortunate. I had one person took an interest, and that's where it was. And I happened to be, I wasn't a natural at it, but I did very well at it because that's where I focused my energy. You don't have to be equipped to be real good at whatever it is you want to do out here. Just focus your energy on it, and you can do well. I was able to go on to a college scholarship and wrestle, served in the military, wound up in the South. So I tell you a little bit about that to say, some of your stories in here, it's personal. Alcohol addiction is huge. Some of the drug addictions that we're dealing with in our county and in our state right now, I had a chance to talk with some of you. The meth situation, I didn't grow up with that. But I certainly grew up with some of the other drugs and stuff that's just as bad. And ultimately what happened is my brother killed himself. He couldn't cope, he was having marital issues, got drunk, pulled out in front of a car, let him T-bone and killed him. So this is personal to me. What Jason just encouraged you with, and then I'll shut up, is don't let this be the stopping place for you. You're all sitting in this room right now with a chance to go on with your life. We've all got scars. I can take this off, show you scars I've got, right? Some of them are physical, some of them are emotional. You get to choose whether or not today is where you stop. There are other people like my brother that he chose that that's where he's going to end it. When you look out there and you go, well, you know what, these guys driving their nice cars, or they're in their nice homes, or they got their nice jobs. Don't for a second think that they're not struggling with stuff too. Because I think statistics you gave me, 75% of the people in America right now know somebody or personally connected to something with substance abuse, right? So if you think about that, that's 3 out of 4. You're sitting in church, you go, 1, 2, 3, yep, you guys are dealing with it. Okay, you got it out. 1, 2, 3, yep, here you do. See, we're all dealing with that. So if I can give you any hope, I would just say this. You've got a second chance here. Not all of you are as old as we are, right? What are you going to do with that? I would take this, I'd be thankful for this, I would pour my heart into this, find something positive, pour your heart into that, and live the rest of your life looking back and helping others get through what they're going through. With that, I would say congratulations for being here. Thank you for allowing me to serve. Certainly, I'm very accessible. You can find me pretty much anywhere working, or my cell phone, call me. One of the things I started asking about, how can we help? If you can remember this, the people that serve as your representatives, you know what? We're not up here. Our job is to represent you down there. If you don't vote or you don't come to the people, all that's going to happen is they're going to make decisions based on what somebody else has done. Is that fair?
That's right.
Okay. Jason, thank you.
Well, while we're all here, do y'all have any questions for the senator or for us as a group? Or I always like to open the floor up and ask. If not,
What if we said this? No questions for the senator, but a question for Bruce.
Bruce, there you go. I forgot, we're less formal, right? So.
For once, I'm at a loss for words.
Well, that was a great kind of inspiration, and
It was.
really appreciate Bruce coming and talking to us and giving us those words of encouragement. We all need it. I know I need it every day. So yeah, thanks for y'all. Thanks for letting us come and spend some time with y'all. I appreciate how y'all doing. One step at a time, right? Keep on
Right.
moving, one step at a time.
One day at a
Good
time.
job. One day at a time. So thanks. Well, let's see.
Thank you.